So I'm going to talk about living labs, and especially, I'm not especially interested in living labs, but what the possibility that they open to us to work and to co-design with communities. So the whole thing of my talk is about how we can support these communities in their own activism. So to understand people, what they want, and then how to support, but not like individual users, but a group of users. A little bit of background about myself. I am Argentinian, but I have been living in Finland for the last 12 years. But sometimes I live also in Argentina, so I do projects and collaborate with Argentinians and Finnish people always. And at the moment, I used to be in Media Lab for a long time in Helsinki, and at the moment I'm the head of an MBA in user-centered design, which is very different kind of people as you, because I am not within designers anymore, but I am in the business department. So I teach the same methods and the same kind of thinking that is behind what you do, but to business people. So a little bit where you can find my things. Always my slides are in SlideShare and in a script. I always try to put everything open and available for everybody. And I also have a blog in Spanish, if you are interested, it's Piñatas Digitales. And I started this blog with my Colombian colleague when we understood that we couldn't speak anymore about our work in our mother language. So this is why we have now a blog in Spanish. I hope you give it a chance. So what is a living lab? And a living lab is an ecosystem centered in users for open innovation. So as you see, this is something that is very familiar for all of us. So the idea of these ecosystems is that we include the communities, the private sector, the public sector, and the local authorities. So what's good about this is that we do not do things anymore only together with companies, but we believe in these clusters or in these alliances, okay, where there is all these partners together. The idea is that that the public sector can also benefit of our work, and also the local authorities can understand what is behind our thinking, and what is also what we want to achieve, and how do we do it. So there's many ways to define these living labs, and for example, when we talk about the public sector, in some cases, we also mean the universities, so the research departments there. The living labs in general, they have a focus and they operate regionally, like in the neighborhood, in the region, or in the cities. So, oops, it went too fast. It is only by working together with users that is possible to get innovative products and services. And this is exactly the same that we believe with interaction designers. So the idea is that how to get these end users tacit knowledge and then apply them. I'm going to learn how to use this. Implementing using the user-centered design method. So in living labs, we use these methods. So we use scenarios, we use personas, workshops, collage, games, and drama methods. So we use also props, design props. So the the whole stuff. And interaction designers are very familiar with all these methods and with the experimentation and with the possibility of having projects that have open end, so that we don't need to know from the beginning what is going to happen. And it's not in all the disciplines that this happens, like that people can start a project without knowing what it's going to be. So we know that user-centered design and interaction design have been long interweaved research fields. So, and we trust this tacit knowledge. So this is important for us, for interaction designers, that we are part of these living labs, because it's the way to bring the design thinking and to make use of all our knowledge on working with the users. So why we need them is that first it's to design that serves a community and individual members of the communities, and we want to support this design. This, for example, is the first case I'm going to talk, and these 4 ladies there, they were very good friends, and they decided that they didn't want to grow old alone and then go to an elderly home. So they wanted to design their way of growing old. So first there were 4 of them, and they formed a group, and they were at the end 100. The city of Helsinki gave them a piece of land by a certain price. They took a loan, and they started to build their dream of growing old together. So in Media Lab, what we have been doing is we wanted to study how these people appropriate technology and how they wanted to live with new technology. So the idea was that not like telecommunication companies or like any kind of company would go there to this initiative and push their own solutions, but instead that they themselves they can decide what it is what they want to have in their house. So we started a long-term collaboration with them. That, for example, I have been working. The project has started in 1999, and still today we are working with them. So it was through the deployment of very different projects that we continued the collaboration. And so they actually built the house, and this is the house, is their own life project. And the idea is that in this house they have a lot of shared areas. They have a common big room, for example, a place to do gymnastics together. A lot of the discussions that we were having with them is how digital tools could be used to reinforce the community there, how to build a community at the same time as building the building, no? The community of all these people that they were, some of them they were acquaintances, but they were not friends, of course, all of them, as they were 100. So they were potential, they were very committed, they were very interested and creative group of users. So this is not only about working and like, I think what is interesting in this project is that we wanted to support their initiative. So we did not start with an agenda of what we need to have for them, but just to listen. And after we get a partnership and a collaboration with them, then we started to do software. We started to design different tools for this for the house. So here the idea was to identify the relevant practices, what they wanted to do there. For example, nowadays they have that they cook together once in a day, all of the seniors, and a lot of the discussions in these workshops. So we use these kind of workshops where they describe how they would like to be their future life was. Well, well, it was a lot about this discussion of how they would like to do things and how they would like to share and what things they would like to share and under which terms. And it was after understanding all that that we begin to build together with them different artifacts. So we have used, for example, cultural proofs and to support the development of this shared design language. No, it was at the beginning not so easy to get to understand each other. And then, for example, if you see the map, is that we wanted them to describe the ideal, their normal day life, and how much do they use technology, and how do they use technology for, etc. So we needed first to get to understand them, and also they could explain us how they see their day, and well, and it was a long process through which we built a long relationship and also a lot of tools that are extremely, at the moment they are extremely useful for them, and they are exactly what they wanted. So we did, for example, paper prototypes or this kind of this kind of workshops where they describe their normally activities and how they wanted to live together in the future, and they would tell us like, no, like we don't want this made like that, like we want you to do this. And well, it was a lot of this negotiation and this constant dialogue with them for doing something that could be fit and be adequate. So we have done these platforms and toolkits for them. So the idea is that the users as informants and developers that can also be part of these research and development projects, and the degree of commitment and participation is designed by themselves. So it was about themselves telling us even like, hey, we are interested to discuss in the next workshop about this issue. For example, how do we tell the neighbor that we don't feel good, or how do we approach the other when so it's not invasive and I can go to your door and tell you. So what are the tools that we could use to inform each other that we don't want to be bothered, but for example, they have a system, so they are cleaning themselves all the corridors and all the house because they want to keep in good shape. This is a normal Finnish habit. So Finnish people, they like to clean their own houses because it's they consider it's very healthy because it's movement, and so they have a system for cleaning the building and to inform each other when they cannot clean and when they are not feeling that they can do it. So how these social practices would evolve during the time that the neighbors are there. So the Living Labs provide an arena for supporting different ways of co-design with clients, consumers, and citizens. And the idea is that the Living Labs are not laboratories, but it's people's houses. So it's these places where they are normally doing activities and living, but still they can be used as places for experimentation, for collaboration, for building partnership. So they could fill a gap in certain cases where there is not enough local, regional, or national capacity for making citizens participate in the development of private and public services. So in some cases, the Living Labs, they have their role there. And they can be seen as intermediate organizations to support the involvement of users. So the idea is that through the Living Labs, the users, they understand their role in the development of technology and, of course, in the development of all these different systems. So it has also been studied as a research concept, and there is people that has been doing their own doctoral thesis on that. For example, this is part of that, and I put some references after my slide. So. The idea to co-design and co-create across disciplines happens in the living labs because most of the teams that are involved are multidisciplinary, and people involved in living labs, they come from engineering, from business, from different backgrounds. What do these living labs support? Is like they provide methods for an environment for testing, and this is another living lab case in the university that I am working now, and again with seniors, so I don't have a lot of cool stuff, I have old seniors example, and this is something that happens in Finland, that seniors they might be living in rural areas, and a lot of them, so for example the grandparents of my friends, most of them, they live in the countryside. So when they are losing mobility, it's a big problem. And in Laurea, they have this idea to do an interactive TV. So the interactive TV provides them with programs in which they can participate. So how does it work? Is that the seniors, they are at home, and they do not only participate in the program, like discussing like the content, but also they program what do they want. So the students of Laurea, they get credits out of doing programs for the seniors. So, for example, the students that want to be nurses, they do a program, a TV program on diabetes. And then after there is a lecture, then there is also this moment where all the persons are discussing together about diabetes or their own problems. So and in that project, for example, there were like companies including, of course, because the companies were the ones providing services as like the physiotherapists, and they were also the technology providers. And there was also the possibility to test some devices for example, taking pressure and then consulting the doctor through the interactive TV. So in general, the companies, they were very happy to have the possibility to explore. And at the moment, for example, in this project, there is like 250 seniors participating from their own houses and their families. And at the beginning, the project was targeted for the ones, not for the ones accompanying, so for the ones that are taking care of someone that cannot move. And then they were also, in the second phase, then it changed, and it went to the whole family in the house. It can be both of them. So the idea is that to promote safety and mental health, and it was for them very, very important, and it is for them a very important social tool. They can also, for example, use the interactive TV to connect as we use Skype, but as they are used to do this, then it's easier for them to connect with their own families. And well, and there is a lot of this around the prevention and about how does it work to do these distance consultations and to have a relationship with the doctors in that way. So that is also what the project is exploring. So the idea is that we map user needs and test, prototype, evaluate concept and a scenario. So the whole process of, for example, doing this interactive TV, it was done as a process of co-design together with the seniors. And we generate links for making quick and dirty prototype, organize discussions online and with the users. and we prototype. And the very big idea of these living labs is that they are not laboratories, but they are really real situations. So in Living Lab, the Living Lab empowers non-designers to apply these user-centered design methods. For example, there you see one of my students that she is working with the small and medium companies and helping them to internationalize their products through a network of Living Labs. And the idea is to help to build a common design vocabulary with people with other perspectives. No, and this is a lot what we are doing, because we have, for example, in the same project, people like are studying for being nurses, and then you have interaction designers trying to research what is going on with the interaction with the seniors, and then we also have social scientists that are studying how the whole thing go. So. Well, I heard that Living Labs in Brazil, and I would like to know a little bit more, are also being implemented, and that there is many of them. I don't know a lot about them, so it could be nice to, after the talk, if you come and tell me if you are involved in some. But I can tell you why Living Labs had been a success in Finland, and why we have been working a lot with this concept. There is a long tradition in Finland in user-centered design. There is, from the beginning, for example, of the participatory design forum, and we have worked with them, and there is a strong participation in Living Lab from universities of applied science. Laurea, the university I am working, is one of them, and this kind of universities of applied science, means that there is a lot of hand-on work. So, for example, in these universities, my students, they are full-time workers, and they are adults, and they come to the university only 2 days in a month. So there is a lot of relationship with their own work, and there is a lot of, we call it, we work under the framework of learning by developing. That means that most of the time students are doing and learning out of their doing. So this is why to participate in Living Lab kind of activities and projects is very smooth path. And also, the Ministry of Employment and Economy has done a policy on user-driven innovation. So this helps a lot with well, there is respect of these practices, and there is a well understanding that we can get innovation out of applying these methods and out of the work with these communities. So we also have public funding for the Living Labs, and a lot of, like, the Finnish funding agency, for example, the Finnish Innovation Fund, and the cities and the universities are collaborating together in making them happen. So what is going on with the Living Labs in Argentina? It has recently been the first Living Lab meeting, and I got to know that last week our project was accepted, and this project that we are going to just start now, it's a collaboration within the Metropolitan Center of Design, research group, and some startups. But the main idea of the project is that the Metropolitan Design Center is settled in a very poor area of the city, and we want to facilitate technology to people in the area so they can be included in the employment again. They give them resources so they can have jobs and collaborate with the designers that have their own startups there. So This is about the project, so to open the facilities of the Metropolitan Center of Design and to also coordinate this facilitation and this appropriation of new technologies by these people. So it can be something else, of course, and a lot of I can just brief what it is, what we have been learning out of these projects, and it's not necessarily that we need to call them living labs, and before they were the same kind of projects probably, but they were not called living lab, and this is something that is going on now. But the idea is that the certain aspects, they have to be there, or this is the kind of design I am interested to do. So to understand that we interaction designers, we can develop product and services, but we also have a role in the facilitation, in how we help people to use our system. How do we help people to understand, and how do we co-design together with them? So what we learned and what we want to do next, I'm going to show a new project we are starting, and I'm very keen on talking on that because I am all the time thinking what we are going to do. And this is again that we don't have a very clear agenda of what we are going to do with this project. We got funding from the Helsinki World Design Capital. If you didn't know, you are all welcome to Finland next year, because we have this Helsinki World Design, and it's going to be a lot of events and design-oriented activities. One of the projects is this one, and this is about people in the east area of Helsinki, which is a very, well, it's a quite a problematic area because it has 30% of immigrants, and they are not very much included with Finns. So this is one part of the problem. Then it's not a very rich area, and also the big problem is that the city of Helsinki want to build their buildings for 2,000 new persons. So the neighbors, they have decided that they wanted to fight for that, because they don't want to have these buildings there, or at least they don't want that these buildings are planned to be in the forest. And for Finnish, the forest is very important. We love our forest, and the idea is to protect the forest and also to co-design new solutions together with the neighbors, with the immigrants, to show the Helsinki authorities like a new possibilities for a master plan. So where can they build where can they place the buildings for these 2,000 persons? So this is again about activism, and these persons, they organize like once in a week. They go around the forest with lanterns and lights, and they organize a walk. And well, sometimes they are around 50, sometimes a little bit less. But this is the silent walk around the forest with the lights is the way to protest. And what we plan to do is, what we are actually now doing is to establish partnership with the active communities, and what we want is to let the immigrants community there also get their voice heard, so that it's not only the Finnish people that can say what they want out of the area, but it's also a more shared vision. So the idea is to let people find you and look for these proactive communities, because, for example, in this area, there is already a group that has formed in order to fight for their own right to design their own space and public space. So what we want to understand and is be aware of our own contribution, both as professionals and as persons, because we are there a lot in the area and we are trying to design together with them. So the way we approach them is very important. And what we are going to do next, for example, is a set of workshops in which the same kind of things that I have explained with the seniors, but in which they can themselves plan the master plan for this area of the city. So well, this is what is going to happen next month, and probably then we are going to think what is next, or how we can support this movement and how we can support especially the immigrant communities there, so their own plan for the city can be also taken into consideration. So we are also trying to adapt our vocabulary and to open the dialogue, because our own plan can change all the time and can change during we have promised certain things to do to the Helsinki World Design Capital, but actually what we promised is a big exhibition where we show all our work during 1 month in a cultural center in the east of Helsinki, in this area where we are working. But a lot of what it is inside can be inside the project can be changed. And for example, one thing that we are doing now is forming a group of architects so they can work with the design that came out of the workshops. So we have a master plan based on the results of the workshops that we have done together with the immigrants and with the Finns in the area. So we want to invest our time and effort in interaction and interactions with people to build partnership. And this is what we trust, and to motivate users to participate in these development projects. So they should not just walk in the forest with the lambs, but also to help them to articulate the discourse. So it's a little bit stronger, and they understand exactly what they want and the reasons for it in the area. And increase, of course, the design capability. No, like the idea is that of course that there is a mutual empowerment. No? That we understand what they want and we work with them to get their ideas done and get their ideas through city authorities. But we also, for example, we also want to enlarge our collaboration networks. At the moment in Helsinki there is this big project that of course has a lot of funding possibilities as the World Design Capital, but a group of designers, we are also starting to do this, to make a group for alternative design capital, because we think that we also want to have there another kind of events that are more open, and they are not curated, but they go through a series of interactions. So everybody that has a project and want to have it in Helsinki during 2012 can apply for the alternative design capital, and then we are going to design with them what it's going to happen in there. For example, in my neighborhood, yes, there is a project on a community house, and we are looking on what are the aspects of design that can be brought into this community house, and we are going to put this. It's a community. The idea is to build a whole community house. So neighbors, we will build it and we will use it, and we are going to do an open call for designers to help us with the big endeavor we are putting ourselves. So the idea is that we adapt flexible solutions, and this is something that we do a lot in Helsinki. This is a project called Time Banking, and the idea is we use a lot of these adaptable things, and this is one that in Helsinki at the moment is very popular. Time banking, it's about that if I can, my time, the idea is that all our time costs the same as everybody else, but I can, for example, take care of your children, and you will receive, I will receive a toby, like it's a fantasy money, and then you can, for example, cook for him, and he can do a massage to him, and there is these tobies that are the exchange money for doing transactions. So we collect tobies and we can exchange for different things. It can be the idea is that are not necessarily professional things. And we give sustainability to projects that get their energy out of the newness. No, there is a lot of projects in internet that when they start, they are very popular and everybody want to be part of. But then, when the time goes, they just melt. So the idea is that through this reinforcing and supporting the communities, we can make this sustainable. And we enable grassroots projects. This is what we want to do, that propose cooperation and collaboration. And we have this big feeling that innovation will only come as a dialogue within people, objects, and emotions. And this is what we wanted to support. And this needs to be stimulated. So we want to provide open-ended components, platforms, and toolkits that enrich this conversation, that allowed us to talk with the communities. Thank you.